All right, everybody. Looks like we are live. Thank you for tuning in. Welcome to Guy Aitchison's Reinventing the Tattoo Community, where tattooers, apprentices, collectors, and the curious are encouraged to join in these live events, streams, real-world events to share and inspire, ultimately to create better art and tattoos together every day. So we're beaming out nearly every day, and with your help, we've evolved into a quality network of amazing live and on-demand tattoo and art shows that have all been receiving rave reviews. You are currently watching Reinventing Drawing Group with Ricardo Sturdivant, happening every single Tuesday at 10 a.m. So you may be beaming in from YouTube or Facebook, or even listening to this podcast, but you can always get the latest event schedule and notifications at our official Reinventing the Tattoo community. You can find us in both of your app stores, Apple or Google Play, or directly at community.reinventingthetattoo.com. All of our Reinventing Network shows, art jams, drawing groups, interviews, panels, webinars. Seriously, I could go on, but all of this can be enjoyed on demand and found in our library, as well as our YouTube and podcast channels. There's countless tattoo and art rabbit holes for you, perfect to put in your front room of your studio or to entertain tattoo clients. In fact, we are beaming out 4 channels 24/7, which I will show you soon. Speaking of, you can enter to win a goodie bag at reinventing247.com. If you look right now on reinventing247.com, you can see all sorts of stuff I'll show you here. We're always live, which is pretty cool. Right now, I'm not sure exactly what you're watching, if that's Brad Wooten or not, but incredible stuff. Reinventing247.com is always on. Beyond that, let's see what else we have. We have sample packs coming. Thank you to Ricardo for contributing to those. We have some really cool shirts, custom designs, Cheyenne cartridges, raw pigments, all sorts of stuff. Samples are coming in weekly, so stay tuned for those. Also, we want to mention some of our regular drawing groups and weekly events. Every Sunday, Jason Leeser has his Reinventing Drawing Group at 1 p.m. At 9 p.m., we do have a new show. It's called the Tattoo Weekly. That's with myself, Gabe Ripley, and Jake Meeks of the Fireside Tattoo Network. You never know what to expect. We did our 2nd episode this week, covering all sorts of topics and things that we thought that you guys should hear about. On Monday morning at 9 a.m. with Jake Meeks, we have the Fireside Tattoo Network affiliate doing a really cool Reinventing Drawing Group as well. All skill levels are welcome. Monday evenings is with Guy Aitchison. If you're a subscriber, that's your time to shine. All sorts of stuff that they do. It's a rotating topics every single Monday at 9 p.m. On Tuesdays at 10 a.m., like I said, we have Ricardo. Every single Tuesday, we get together to do a drawing group. And so far, we've been focusing on drawing large to small. Wednesdays at noon, we have our Tattoo Now show. Tomorrow's Tattoo Now podcast will be with Paul Talbot of That Tattoo Show, multi-Grammy nominated artist in many facets. So we're really looking forward to hearing from him. Every Thursday at noon, the Tattoo Collecting podcast. And if you are unfamiliar, I would recommend checking that podcast out. In particular, episode number 40 with Russ Abbott. On Thursdays at 7, we have our subscribers only exercises with Kiri. All sorts of skill levels are welcome. Apprentices are especially encouraged. So we also have some special upcoming events. We have our BYOB, which has just been announced with Vapors of Morphine attending. That will be at Jiminy Peak. The Paradise BOB is something different, and Gabe has been putting a lot of time to put things together for that. So we do hope to see you there, October 3rd to 6th. So if you're looking for a few ways to support the show, we have upcoming pro development and on demand. Every Mondays, again, thanks to subscribers, we have our stuff there. We have RIT business calls on our courses. You can find stuff from Andre Malcolm, BJ Betts, Bob Tyrell at courses.reinventingthetattoo.com. Other real world events we have coming up, which Ricardo will be at, as will I. November 12th to 14th, the Brussels Tattoo Convention. And if you missed our interviews with Ivana or Nick Baxter, you can find those in the community as well. They will be doing seminars, they'll be beaming in for an art jam, subscriber exclusive meetups, all sorts of stuff. Next May, guys, if it's not on your schedule, Hell City, Columbus is May 20th to 22nd. July 8th to 10th, we have the Rock River Tattoo Art Expo, and we do monthly shows with Rob. So if you haven't seen the Tent Talk, a lot of great history, check that out as well. Next July, we'll be at the Rubber City Tattoo Invitational with Tony Urbanic. Speaking of, Tony will have a Machines, Madison Mayhem episode coming up next Wednesday. All right. We're going to jump into saying why we're here today. And of course, that is because of our awesome sponsors. So we're going to highlight inkjet stencils. And if you haven't heard of them, inkjet stencils saves you time and ultimately money. If you are unfamiliar with their stuff, inkjetstencils.com, they have a cool starter kit to get you going. We also have raw pigments. Of course, we are a little bit new to mentioning raw pigments. They're acrylic-free colors made from source to skin. So if you have any questions about why their pigments are getting such rave reviews, visit them at rawpigments.com. DLize Pro, known internationally as Dermalize Pro, tattoo aftercare that works. They have all sorts of products at dermalizepro.com. And if you guys are starting to travel again, like myself, World Tattoo Events is your place to be. Thank you for them for sponsoring us. Alex of World Tattoo Events does come on monthly with a panel of sorts or convention, the history of tattoo conventions. I encourage you guys to check those events out. Mickey Violeto would be a highlight episode for anyone to be taking a look at. Again, you can find all of our shows in the reinventing247.com, which is totally killer, always on. Thank you to Jake from the Fireside Tattoo Network as well for supporting us. And again, Jake will be live with us on Monday mornings and Sunday evenings. I think that is about it for me. I really appreciate for everybody tuning in. Today is going to be a little bit of a recap episode, and I will hand it over to Ricardo to introduce what we're going to talk about today.
Hey, Lauren, how you doing?
Doing fairly well.
Cool.
Good to see you.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too. Yeah, it's been a crazy weekend. Sorry about that. I'm still kind of catching up. Like you were talking about a little bit ago, traveling, getting back out there and stuff like that, man. I haven't done it for a very long time before COVID even hit. So getting back into it now has been pretty awesome. Using this platform and stuff like that to kind of invigorate me into that direction has been even better. So I got to meet some people through this app. Jason Leeser, Kier Franklin. We traveled together this weekend. The three of us are going to be going down to Florida to see our buddy Bruno this month too. So I've got a pretty busy month this month. I'll also be going down to see Guy Aitchison and getting tattooed by him on Thursday. So that's pretty exciting. And I can't believe that it's happening, to be honest with you. I'm still pretty excited about it. I'm like, I'm all giddy. But yeah, so thanks for the intro, Lauren. That was awesome. What a cool visual experience that was right there.
Yeah, really well. We're trying to put together different digital elements, which is something that we could definitely do weekly groups just talking about the tech aspect. I know we spend a lot of time talking about the new, the cool, all sorts of tech stuff. So if anyone's watching that doesn't know, where were you last weekend and how did that experience go?
Yeah, this last weekend I went to Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. That was an awesome experience, actually. Besides hanging out with Jason and Kier, which is always a great time, talking to them, talking art and stuff like that, which we'll kind of delve into a little bit later. One of the coolest things that happened there, and I talked about this last night on Guy's subscription class, was that people in the environment, in the group there, a lot of the other tattoo artists were coming up to us and talking to us about how they listened to us on the Reinventing app. So that's been pretty cool, and like hearing some of the positive effects that it's had. You know what I mean? That was pretty awesome. Like I haven't been really recognized like that before. So that was such a cool experience, and then being able to be part of this group in that manner and know that we're making like some positive things happen out there for everybody was awesome. It was so cool.
It was kind of surreal with me on the Tattoo Weekly last weekend. Gabe mentioned that you can see all the personalities you see on TV in Brussels. So it was kind of surreal thinking that, but I think what people do appreciate is for someone like you or maybe me, like having the gumption to actually do it, because being in front of a camera is not easy. But I think that a lot of us are acclimating,
Yeah. That's a great point. And I talk about that a lot. I talk about facing our fears. You know what I mean? One of the biggest fears that I've ever had is kind of putting a spotlight on myself. You know what I mean? I've always been the kid that's kind of like back in the corner and like just observing everything like that, which I love. It's comfortable for me. But one of the things that I don't want to avoid anymore is this fear of like kind of like you said, being in the spotlight, having the camera put on you, and it is hard, very difficult. What if I stammer? What if I stutter? You know what I mean? What if I mess something up? All these points that I want to make of what if I miss things like that. But it doesn't really matter. The most important part is that you're out there trying, and that we can kind of hopefully influence other people to do the same. So yeah. But speaking of which, I know that you have some events coming up too, right? Like what's going on with you this week?
I will be going to Chicago this weekend. It'll be a show with Raw Pigments. We have Spooks Hoya Tattoos coming, as well as Sophie Savage. So I'm looking forward to getting out there. We haven't really visited person to person. I feel like there's definitely limits on what you can do through a computer. With video is definitely pretty fantastic. I would say it's like a diet soda. It's not the real thing, but we're doing a few different shows next month. We'll be with you in Dallas at the Tattoo Collectors Expo. And then in September, we'll be at the Golden State Tattoo Expo. It's definitely nerve wracking, but I think I forget if it was you who pointed it out, but it's always important to remember that as nervous as you are, kind of cancel itself out because everyone else feels the same. So getting out there, being confident is really up to yourself.
Yeah, that's true. I do remember saying that. It's like one of the things that I heard from Alan Watts when he was talking about our fear of what other people might think, right? You're always so concerned about messing up, like what other people might think of you if you embarrass yourself and such. But if all of us are thinking that as a human, then it cancels itself out because we're all thinking the same thing. So there's no point of even being worried about it. I think that's a pretty awesome thing. Yeah, and I'm looking forward to the trip down to Dallas for sure. And if I wasn't already obligated to go get tattooed by Guy, I would definitely try to be up there in Chicago with you guys. So I'll be there in spirit rallying for you, and I'll tune in if you guys do any podcasts or anything like that from there too. So that'd be pretty fun. And I was actually going to talk to Guy about maybe doing something live while we're down there. Working on getting some internet scenarios kind of set up for the trip when I go down. I'll be handling that probably tomorrow evening before I head out of town. But it's been crazy.
I would be really interested, and I'm sure viewers are too, in how do you prepare for something like that with a low internet connection? Because there's something about being set, but when you get on the road, for example, like we want to do our streaming live from a convention, and we all know conventions are notorious for shitty Wi-Fi, shitty internet.
So many people are on it at the same time, right? It just pauses it all down.
Yeah. So I'd be totally interested to see how you prepare for something like that. If you're using cell networks, if you're using phones versus cameras, and what kind of software you can utilize on a phone that still looks professional.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. I have been kind of delving into some of that, into some of the apps that are available, into some of the paid apps that you can get a hold of. And I'm pretty excited to kind of just pretty much anything that I come across that I don't understand, Google it or text Lauren and see what she says about it too.
And if I don't know, that circle continues.
Yeah. So and that's exactly what I was wanting to talk to you about too. I had a couple more questions for you. I know that you've traveled around quite a bit, doing different things, and I was just wondering if you had any tips for traveling, because I know for myself this weekend I actually picked up a what is it called, a Pelican briefcase, the big one, the oversized one.
Yeah.
And I didn't utilize it properly. I didn't realize that there's two different foam layers, and literally what you do is they have these little squares in them where you can cut it out and set things in, so they stack neatly on top of each other. But what I did was I took the foam layers out and I just kind of compressed everything between two, and it just took the whole point of it out. So I'm pretty excited to do that this next convention that I go to, and probably down to Bruno's, because I'll be taking some equipment with me there too. But like paint supplies and stuff like that, But I wondered if you had any tips, as far as packing, things that were necessary for, selling merchandise, or any merchandise that you do have to take with you.
Yeah, I think that if you kind of treat it like phantom drawing, or something that you're not going to do, but you're not doing right now, but you're going to do. So for me, I will kind of picture and visualize all the things that I'm going to do. I'll visualize what power sources will I need? First of all, I do have a list of stuff that I'll probably need at a convention. And then I'll have a list of stuff that I might not need, but just in case, if I have space I need to make for.
Right.
So in my experiences, things that I do in advance in terms of just convention traveling, I scope out restaurants ahead of time. I scope out Uber services. I have Uber connected on my phone ahead of time, make sure my payment information is updated for whatever reason. I make a list. I pack in advance. Jason said he was packing like 5 days early. That really is recommended. Gabe is putting together a really cool convention checklist that I think will definitely beat mine. But in terms of merchandise, getting that stuff set and having like a blueprint of exactly where it's going to be ahead of time, everybody knowing their roles within the booth situation ahead of time, thinking about what tools am I going to need and exactly how am I going to organize this that I can find it easily and it's not going to get lost. You have to think of everything. Think of the customer that's going to come to your booth or the client. What are they going to expect? Are they going to get hot? Are they going to get thirsty? Are you going to have enough leg room? Do you need an armrest? Think of those things way ahead of time. And for example, if you don't want to be traveling with a heavy massage table, which not a lot of people do, but if you are, make sure you wrap that. It's just easier in advance. But find out rental places or connect with like a shop in the area that might have an extra massage table. So if I was to go into Golden State, I would hit up, Brian Ramirez. I'd say, hey, look, I'm looking for a table. Do you happen to have an extra in your shop? Stuff like that.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Other things, like keeping your bag as compact as you can, have a set travel bag. And that way all your stuff is always the same. You've got your chargers, you've got your backup batteries, you've got your laptop, there's all sorts of stuff like that.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't think about the Uber Eats and like checking out restaurants and stuff like that beforehand either. That's a good idea because especially if you're trying to plan, meeting up with some of the people that you might know there, some of the people that you're traveling with, or like even people that you might meet while you're there. It's always good to be able to sit down and eat and have a conversation and stuff like that over dinner. There's a lot of things that we share in the universal capacity, I think, in this world is that like, food is one of them, music is another one, art is another one for sure. So it's really a good place to be set like a comfortable kind of vibe and like us to like, de-stress or like take this like, exterior off that we might carry around with us. Some of us might carry around. I know personally, I carried around one like that for a long time. And doing things like this is definitely like shedding that for me. So it's been pretty cool that way. But that's another thing that you can do. Like sometimes it's nerve-wracking, you look up to these people, you've been looking and studying their art for such a long time and like, so enamored by like what they do that when you get around them to talk to them, you kind of just end up making silly comments or like asking stupid questions, so to speak. You know what I mean? So it's a good place to be. Everybody wants to eat. Everybody wants some good food, a couple drinks or something like that, chill out.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
I have to take that into consideration.
I think that what I was getting at before is like, if you're going to tattoo, a lot of people do freehand and that's awesome, but it's predetermined and that's a certain skill set that they have. But having a stencil for anything, a blueprint for what you're going to do kind of lets you have a direct plan as to what you're going to do. And how much time I've wasted, I would say like weeks, maybe months of my life looking for a place that's open at 11 when I could have just prepared for that ahead of time. They close at 10. I've got my takeout order in by 9:30, stuff like that. Food is really important. And if you can be the guy who knows where to go to eat, you're probably going to have a little bit more success. But I do want to mention, guys, let's see, let's let Faith in. She is all right. Let's get that gallery view started. Welcome, cool. Faith. Happy to see you.
Hey, what's up?
Oh, not too much. So how are you?
Faith?
I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good. My best friend is here from Kentucky. She's guest spotting at the shop that I'm at. So I'm excited to go in today and do that.
Very cool.
Going on, yeah.
What kind of work does it do?
I helped her kind of pushed her a little bit into being a tattoo artist. So she started an apprenticeship like about a year and a half ago, I guess. But she's in more of a street shop type of environment, and she wants to be in kind of a fine art shop. So she's coming down to like, I guess we're interviewing each other to see if it's a good fit kind of thing.
Awesome.
Cool.
What a cool opportunity. So did you know her before she started tattooing, or did you meet her through
I
tattooing?
met her at an art show like 5 years ago. She was down here for like a year.
Hmm.
And I bought one of her paintings and we just stayed in touch. And she was working, I think, in like a coffee house or something like that. And I kind of was like, be a tattoo artist, be a tattoo artist. And I sent her a machine and a bunch of supplies and things and fake skin. And she went out and got like an apprenticeship like the next day. She does really
Nice.
amazing paintings and things. So I think she'll be happier in a fine art shop. You know what I mean? Just different kind of a vibe.
Yeah.
I
So when you
mean,
say that, you mean like something a little bit more like appointment based and stuff like that? Is that what you're talking about?
just doing more. She was in like a really old school traditional, just doing like, and she wants to do more like painterly and like watercolor and like stuff like we're doing down
Okay.
here. Just 'cause
Yeah,
nobody
yeah.
really knows how to do it up there. I think she said it's the only shop in like 100 miles or something like that. Just like
Hmm.
drive an hour to work. So yeah,
And well, what a cool opportunity that you've taken. You know what I mean? To kind of like, contribute to the world around you. Like it's really cool that you're kind of you're growing as a person in that sense is what I've kind of realized about myself is that the more you can share, the more you can like create. If you find that in yourself, it's good to share it with other people because we change ourselves. We can change ourselves, but you're just one person. But if you're contributing to that community, that environment, it makes it that much better to be around, you know?
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, very cool. So how long is she in town for?
She's has a Airbnb for like a week, but she's already talking about staying. Hopefully, she'll stay down here. Her and her girlfriend are here, so they'd have to go back and come back. But
Yeah,
we're trying to get her to stay since we're switching locations. So we're
yeah,
going from like kind of this tucked away, like little private studio to like right on the main drag of
yeah,
St. Lucie. So if that exists, the main drag of St. Lucie. But yeah, so we're excited.
yeah. Very cool. Yeah, we're always trying to convince each other. You know, this past weekend I went out to the Gettysburg Convention with Jason and Kier, and we're always trying to like kind of goad each other into moving to where we're at. You know what I mean? So good luck with that. Hope it works out for you.
I'm so too.
Yeah. Yeah, today's gonna be a little different. I've been traveling for the past couple days. I ended up staying up. I think yesterday I finally fell asleep at about 10 or 11 or something like that. I can't remember, but I ended up being I think for a little over 37 or 38 hours straight. I've been working on a lot of different things behind the scenes and stuff like that, and so I didn't really get a chance to kind of delve into the next part of what I wanted to cover with the art approach. But today I just figured that I'd kind of talk and kind of go over some of the discoveries that I've been making through this process and like meeting all you guys and stuff, and where I come from a little bit more in depth. Um, but and then there's gonna be this little video that I'd like to show at the very end of it. I'll just share my screen and you guys have to let me know if the sound's coming through and stuff like that too, because like we were talking about technology a little bit ago, I'm still getting used to it. So
I think you got it, Ricardo, but we'll definitely tell you. Faith, I see that you're using OBS. I think both of us are as well,
yep.
which is cool. I think, like I was mentioning, we could probably talk tech forever. I really look up to you for what, first of all, that you've shown me, and I'm not sure what Ricardo has seen of your work yet and your wind color wheel, but tech would be awesome to talk about with you, Faith, one day. There's just a realm that kind of separates, I'm not going to say an amateur, but I'm not going to say I want to be either, but something like that. And someone who's going to take this and do it professionally, So there's definitely ways, like, for example, I really like your Instagram in the top, Ricardo. Can you tell everyone how you did that?
Oh yeah, no problem. Right now, what I'm running just through Minicam right now. I have been messing with the OBS and stuff like that, and I'm trying to get a little bit more acclimated with it before I start using it. Actually, my son, he's 20, he came over and kind of just like schooled me on everything. You know what I mean? So that was a pretty awesome experience, man, for him to. I officially felt like that old guy's like, why is the clicker not working? You know what I mean? When you're talking about the remote and stuff, but yeah, no, so I'm just using Minicam right now, and you can kind of create some different layers and stuff like that, and different camera setups and everything like that. So you just click the button, and it'll go switch over to anything that you might have coming through your laptop or your computer. So that's been pretty uh, convenient. And Jason Lisa was the one that kind of showed me through, walked me through that part of the process for sure. So And yeah, Face, I did. Thank you for bringing that up, Lauren. I have delved into what you have shared with me. It's
Mhm.
pretty exciting stuff. It's pretty
Yeah.
exciting stuff. And like, I'd really like to get together with you and talk a little bit more about it and stuff like that, because I do have a lot of questions. Because like I said before, I'm still learning a lot of these terms as well. So there's some things that I'll kind of fumble through with you if that's okay. And like just kind of pick your brain and see how it is that you came to these this perception of the way that you're approaching your color theory and stuff like that, you know. So yeah, it's great stuff. It's awesome. So maybe we can set up some time and maybe even over one of these classes or something like that. We can just kind of like direct the attention towards that if you're comfortable with it, or set up some time on another date or something like that. It's up to you.
I'm trying to get the word out. I'm trying to get the website out. Um, Hopefully Miranda's going to go through the whole program with me. It's one of the reasons she's down here, so that'll be good. And yeah, I'm definitely a tech nerd.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
try to hide it a little bit sometimes, but I love technology and I gravitate towards it. Like whatever industry I'm in, whatever happens, I'm always the one sitting there on the computer trying to fix everything with that. So I think it was just natural to, instead of taking art and putting it into a computer, I took a computer and put it into art, if that makes sense. Like, and I feel like we could all speak the same language. So that's what I'm trying to standardize art. Like it's a
very
computer
cool.
language. I didn't mean to do it. It's just how my brain works. If that makes sense.
That's perfect, Faith. That was such a great way to say that, man. That's awesome. Because that's exactly it. You know what I mean? Like it's that perspective, like you said, you're trying to take art. You're not trying to take the art into the computer, you're trying to bring the computer into the art, right? Is that what you're saying?
Right.
Is that how you work?
There's a whole lot of tattoo artists who are like embracing technology and getting into tech and using the iPad. But I feel like I'm a tech nerd who's just kind of getting into art. So
Yeah,
it's my A game is my digital design and my computer and like all that kind of stuff instead of in the art. I'm just like learning. And I don't know a lot of the terms either. I'm just honestly writing the book is how I learned it.
very cool.
I didn't know it and then wrote a book about it. I learned it as I was going.
That's awesome,
Kept
man.
rewriting
How cool is that?
it. Yeah.
Yeah. And kind of like looking up the definitions as you go and such, you know what I mean? Confirming things for yourself.
Yeah.
Man, that's so awesome.
Yeah. Like the first book was all about this split complementary value scale thing. And like I don't even think that's a thing. Like I think I was just completely like off base. And then I kind of discovered that that was supposed to be a color scheme, not like a scale. And like I mixed everything up kind of. But in the end, it kind of worked out, I think. It
Nice.
works, right? I
Yeah.
don't know if it's right, but it works.
Yeah, you know, that's the best part about this is learning how to speak your perspective, your voice, in the way that you know how, and then make it perceptible or perception, like yeah, perceivable. I'm sorry, perceivable for people to be able to kind of like follow you and like explain like what it is that you're trying to say to them. That's awesome, man. That's cool. I feel like we're on the same page, man, because that's exactly where I'm at too. I feel like I've known how to draw, I've known how to paint, I've known how to do these things and stuff like that. But then when I go to explain it to people, I just look up at them after I'm done talking and they're just kind of blank, you know? So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, very
Like
cool, man.
I've heard things on this show and the other one that just go like I
Right.
don't like sometimes I'm right there with you, and then other times I'm like I don't know what the hell he's talking about.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just
And you know,
I
go
don't know.
ahead.
Like I think what I'm doing, someone said it was mixing chromatically or something like that. And I don't like stuff
Mm,
like that. That sounds right, but like I don't know versus like doing values by warm and cool and all these other things that I just have no idea yet. And I'm just trying to
mm.
get a hold of what I have. And then I don't know. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Art is
Yeah.
crazy.
It is crazy, you know what I mean? And that's the best part is that it's however you view it and what makes sense to you. I know when I talk with Jason and Kier, they're both on the same page that you're talking about, where they talk about like these terms and ways of explaining it. And once that we break it down, it makes complete sense on why you would use the verbiage that they chose, you know. So I'm right there with you as far as mixing chromatically, what warms and cools. I'm still learning. And what I've been doing for a long time is using muted tones with, small amounts of intense color in specific spots that kind of create rhythm and create like a sequence of events that kind of carries your eyes through the whole composition. And I didn't realize that that's what was happening until I started talking to them, listening to it, and sharing what it was that I was trying to accomplish, and then being able to kind of take a step back from the outside and almost read the book like what you're put together. You know what I mean? So I agree with you. It is daunting and it's hard, but good for you for making that step, taking those steps to create this information that you're putting together.
There's certain things that just keep coming up and keep coming up that I don't know about, and that's when I'm eventually like, fine, like then I have to go learn it.
Mhm.
Like tints, shades, like mixing grays and whites and how they actually work. I have no idea how that works. So I got like I've been putting it off. Like I got to go research it or find something, and just stuff like that that you keep hearing that I'm like, I'm missing something. Like there's something that I could be doing. It's like group conscious. Everybody knows about this one thing, so I got to
Mhm.
go learn it.
Right. And it's good to be able to understand that language whenever you are around other artists and stuff like that too, because it kind of clears up the space. It clears up that space between the two of you, so you can pick up a little bit more about what it is they're doing, their process, and everything like that. Especially when you're curious about somebody's art that strikes you, like you can just see it right away. Maybe not comprehend it entirely, but there's something about it that invokes that emotion, where it's that interest, right? So like traveling, doing these conventions and stuff like that, it makes it a little bit more approachable for you. Because I know that's what's always kept me from even trying to ask questions. Was like I didn't understand what's going on. You know what I mean? So um, and that's one of the things. That's one of the things I got with feedback from this last convention was people saying how much more approachable it makes things for them. And hopefully, with them listening, or if they're going to be listening to this at some point in time, you guys can kind of take some pointers here. And I know a lot of you said that you were kind of nervous about jumping in. I'm so glad Faith did. I'm so glad that everybody else did. I'm so glad that I've jumped in and that this rewards us to this moment, this exact time. It's awesome.
I want to mention something that I read. I like Napoleon Hill and different writers from the past, and he would always wrote, it's kind of extreme, but develop a mastermind alliance, which means that using the teamwork method and having another person there that you can rely on, that's not going to be your strengths, and you're not going to have their strengths, and it kind of works out hand in hand.
Yeah.
And that's the nice thing about like working with Guy or working with Faith. You have such extreme strengths that it really fills in the voids for other people. And I really like that sense of community that everyone strengthens one another.
Yeah, man, you got to create the beacon somehow. And if you are around other people, don't, what's that other analogy that a lot of people use? Don't be the smartest person in the room. Fill yourself with other people that you look up to. Fill yourself in a room full of people that you feel like might know more than you. And then when you find yourself being that person that knows more than everything else, or you feel like you do, or you're told you are, share everything that you have, share everything that you know, and then try to be the best that you can in that capacity, where it's like you can be a beacon. We're all beacons for each other. We're like these little pinpoints that create this ring of resonance, and we all intercede with each other at different points in time and space. You know what I mean? And we need to kind of remember that. And the more we spread, the more times we make those little impacts, the more that they resonate throughout this environment, this community, the more inspired and the more knowledge we can gain from it.
I'm curious, there seems to be like sometimes a huge hesitation with sharing information. And I can't blame everybody, but Faith, how do you feel with something at this level that you've created from your own mind in terms of moving forward and sharing knowledge? Because it's pretty intimidating when people see something new, a new concept. It's usually a copy type mentality sometimes. I'm just curious on your perspective.
As far as me just letting everyone know what's up with it, or
sharing your knowledge rather than
my biggest fear doing it was that because I created it before I even knew. I didn't know who Russ Abbott was. I didn't know who Guy was. I didn't know who anybody was. I was just trying to figure it out because I didn't know where to look. And for some reason, I was like paranoid that if I looked at any of Abbott's stuff or Guy's stuff, that when I did figure out that it would be like a copyright infringement. So like I sat down and I just tried to write the book as best I could. I used the watercolor book of my mom's and a bunch of other stuff. And I kept trying, like I was trying to contact people to sign like non-disclosure agreements so I could show it to them. And then finally I got the book copyrighted when I wrote it, and now like so I can send that out. But I'm still nervous about like if some company decides that this whole Flash thing is a great idea, that they're just gonna take it and
Yeah.
they'll have the resources and it's up, and then I'm just like, all right. Like it's like there's that fear, or there's that fear that I'm gonna tell somebody, like I'll tell my friend Miranda and then she'll leave and open a shop right next door and do it better than me and that kind of thing. And where you want, like there's a fear that people are gonna almost like take it from you when you figure something out, at least for me. But I try to I want everyone to be successful, and I want everyone to learn. And I said this before, I think art's like my life. It saves me every day from like just, I don't know. I just like it's very personal to me, and I feel like everyone should have that chance to make it, to understand it completely. So it becomes protecting what's mine, and then also giving freely. So there's like a push and a pull, I guess.
That's super
Really well
rad,
said.
Faith. Yeah, totally cool, man. And there's that word again, that fear word. Like I think, and this will sound kind of sappy, maybe I don't care, but you gotta. I've heard in the past people say, you have to live in love. You have to live in love. You have to share love, and that's what resonates from you. That's what comes out. And the more we live in fear, the more you spread from fear, the less or the more negative impact it's going to make. You know what I mean? So by you taking this chance and doing it out of that intention, no matter what, you can always observe it in the way that you meant it to be. And you don't have to, you can disregard what it might be at that moment. You can be viewed however you want it to be. So if it's a negative impact on you, that's unfortunate, but you did it from the best intentions and the best place that you could come from. So you're already winning, and it doesn't matter, and it's unfortunate that people might take that kind of scenario, that kind of situation, and use it to their advantage and kind of put you underneath them and take claim to it and such. But everybody else knows that's been with you, so that's what matters the most. So good for you.
I, th-
Taking
I
that leap.
there's like this excitement too when sharing something that you've discovered to someone else. And you can only go so far. I can only go so far with this. I've been staring at this thing for like a year or 6 months or whatever it is, and like I don't know what to do next. So
Yeah.
there's like, here, take this, and then they run with it in every other direction except where I thought they were going to go. And
Yeah, that's
then
great.
it's like a group conscious with this idea that you've created, and and then you take an idea from them and you run with it, and it's like herding cats a little bit, but at the same time, uh, it's exciting. Like I'm excited to teach all this stuff to my friend and have her see what she does with it. Her art's so opposite mine. It's like free, just crazy and psychedelic, and mine's all like precise and calculating values and things. So I want to see where she goes with it.
And not only that, but you too, like to be able to have that her approach, your approach, and then trying to understand her approach enough to where you can teach her a little bit more about what it is that she might be able to do with her art. You know what I mean? And then for you to be able to take from that moment as well.
Exactly.
Incredible. Incredible.
So far, everyone that I've taught any of this to, I've learned more from them than I think I've taught them.
Yeah.
I've learned more from trying to teach people,
Yes.
because like this, they say, what is it? To learn something is to understand yourself. To master something is to teach it to someone else. So
Very
not
good.
that I've mastered any of this, but I just trying to tell someone how to do something is so much harder than learning it. I think is the
Man, that's awesome.
I'd be interested to hear, Kyrie, how do you feel in the last several Thursdays? How do you feel now? Being a few steps ahead of the people that you're working with and the artist. How has your viewpoint and perspective changed now?
Well, I mean, like when this whole thing started, when I started doing these classes, it was kind of just like telling people stuff that was fundamentally like I already knew. But now it's like the chapters like keep going on, and I keep thinking of different things to teach people. It kind of is getting a little more difficult. So I actually have to reteach myself how to explain to others what I already know, because I can't just be like, yeah, this is how you do it, and it's just a blank piece of paper. You have to actually like sit there and explain how to get to a certain point or how to think in a certain way for you to see the end result of something. So I think it's a great point that, you know, teaching people is really teaching yourself too in different ways. And you can be explaining something to somebody, and I know Ricardo has felt this way too, where he'll explain something to me and he'll be like, oh, I never thought of it that way.
That's entirely true. That's true.
So it's exactly what Faith said. It's a push and pull type ordeal. But you have to just make sure that the information that you're saying is actually, you know, super helpful and at certain points fundamental. So I guess that's really what I have to say about that. And I know that like the last class I had was on filigree, because this next chapter I really want everybody to start understanding compositions as far as the differences between tattooable images and just normal fine art compositions. And as I was doing the class, I was like, oh man, like I haven't done filigree in forever, and I don't know how to explain this. I didn't really prepare that well. So I'm making sure that this time when I studied yesterday, I learned so much new information that I was like, oh, I figured out a way to explain it to everybody. So I guess that's what teaching really is, I guess.
Yeah.
Before we get too far, can you show off your hand? I know Ricardo saw it, but I just saw a still image. It's awesome. Man, I love those colors.
Yep, you really drilled them in there. But yeah, it was Gettysburg was awesome. It was a great learning experience for all sorts of different ages. And I know I'm pretty, you know, still very new in this industry, but I learned so much every day just from this app and going to conventions and traveling, and my brain is getting filled with just information, and it's just never ending. And it's very exciting.
So cool.
Did you guys work on any other projects other than tattooing this weekend, or draw together, anything fun like that? Like on your road trip?
That was pretty fun. We would like start off with a blank piece of paper, and then just, you know, after 5 minutes, we would time each other and just keep passing it and passing it and passing it. And just, you know, it became really fun that way.
I have a question, you guys. What are the rules of what are the rules of that? Because I've seen them be broken and I didn't know they exactly existed. For example, don't draw over my image, or, you know, what are those unwritten rules?
Yeah, you know, go ahead, Kira.
I mean, it's I guess it just depends. Like, I don't care if anybody touches. I used to have a very terrible problem with people touching my work. Even my mentor, like when in my apprenticeship, I would ask a question about my composition, whether it be like a painting or something like that, or like something on Procreate. I'm like, oh, I don't know how to do this. And he would take my stuff and immediately draw right over it. And I would get like this fury in my head. I was like, this is so horrible. And it would blind me from even learning what he was trying to teach me, because I was so irate at the fact that he was just touching my work. So I think if you just don't do that, you're gonna learn a lot more. And now I really don't care. Like, somebody could draw a big X over like this composition that I worked like 80 hours on. I'd be like, all right, I'll just start over.
Yeah.
It's not that. So I mean, I think different people would start it, and then we'd time each other of like 5 minutes each, and we would just pass it. It wouldn't really matter.
Yep. Yeah, it's pretty much. I think it's as far as the rules go, I would assume that it's kind of like you know, when you're a kid and you're playing you know, any kind of game that you might be playing, and you make up rules as you go. You know, like, okay, so new rule, you can't touch second base while you're skipping or something like that. Who knows? I mean, whatever it might be. But I think for us, we were just kind of like, you know, we felt that vibe in the air, and we're just like influenced by this, you know, inspiration to draw and to like compelled to create something. So we just all wanted to see how we got going with it. And Jason had a friend of his there, Joe, that just subscribed recently, I saw, and I was so excited to see his name pop up and stuff like that, because we were talking to him all weekend. And you know, he's done a lot of work with Procreate and stuff like that too. So we were kind of goating him into like, come on, man, draw with this. Let's just get into this. He's like, I don't want to draw. Like, come on, dude, it's fun. So we were just drawing up these like silly looking characters, man, and just it was just, you know, flexing, you know, stretching out that brain noodle and like, you know, getting
Brain
comfortable.
noodle.
Yeah, exactly. It looked like a noodle, you know, it's just all like weaved in and out and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And it was quite fun. I don't know. I just hadn't seen everybody in such a good mood in so long. Like everybody there was like so elated with just being together again after everything
Yeah.
that's been happening. That there was like no barriers for the booths. Like everybody was actually being social and integrating and having fun. And everybody was in such a good mood, and it made the energy there just that much better.
Yeah, I agree completely. And it was awesome to see the people come up to us and talk to us once they saw the banners and stuff
Yeah,
like that. For
everybody
Reinventing.
was talking to each other, like artists that you've never met before. You would just walk by. Like I remember walking around with Jason when he was on his Sunday thing, and he would walk by and he'd hear a coil machine going off, and he's like, "What is that?"
Yeah.
And it would just, you know, make great conversations, and you never even met this person once before. And I know we had somebody right across from our booth that we were just communicating with the entire time, and we became like best friends with that person for that weekend, and it was just a great experience. Everything seems really back together again, and I can't wait for Philly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, Philly is always a good show. Have you been to that one before?
I have not. I've heard how busy it is, so I'm actually like, you know, putting my war paint on. I'm getting ready to like.
Hey, that's I want to mention this. I don't know if you were on when Ricardo asked me of things you can do to prepare, but if you're going to go to a convention that's super packed, what you want to do is, first of all, find out who's going to be there. Second of all, put a little bit of money into Facebook ads and at least book yourself once a day. Because I'm not saying it's cutthroat at a place like that, but when your ratio of people looking for a tattoo compared to artists available is way off, you want to come a little bit prepared. Even if you only did a tattoo a day, that might be all that you need to do. But you can boost your availability through different Facebook ads, Instagram ads, or just talking to people in the area. And it is really good to build clientele in the places that you're going to go anyway, because these are yearly events.
Yeah, I've done the Instagram ads before, like when I did like giveaways and stuff like that, and it really does work. I'm like, oh wow. I'd wake up at like, I don't know, like 3 a.m. because my phone would be just buzzing up, and I'm like, oh man, wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
If you have a design you want to do in particular, say I will be in Philadelphia at this time. These are the designs I want to do. This is how you book. Usually, at least, you know, if you could get a little buzz going around yourself, you can go in confident that you're not going to sit there and your goal is to find somebody to tattoo versus making the most out of the stuff that you already had planned for.
Yeah, that's a good point, Lauren. Thank you.
Yeah. It is intimidating because I mean, it makes a weird vibe. You know, if you're best friends with the person across from you and you're both looking at every person that walks by, you know, it creates a little bit of turmoil, so to speak, just from some of the shows that I've seen. You know, you could even plan to tattoo your buddy or whatever it is, but being prepared in that regard of having appointments in advance is a huge game changer.
Yeah, that's awesome. I didn't even thought about it like that. I know you pointed it out to me a week before last, I believe, about that. And I was like, oh, that makes sense.
I've seen a lot of people make a lot of money. For example, my good friend, Tommy Kirschbaum, he did that and developed clients in Philadelphia. Well, the next year he went to Philadelphia, that client's brother came. And then that client, the next year, you know, it kind of just started the seed from day one.
Yeah. Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. Yeah, we had a good time. And, you know, one of the coolest things was when we were just sitting around and talking about art, you know what I mean? And like relating it to life and such. You know, I always enjoy those kind of moments, but that's just me. And I think it's really influential, the two of them together and on the opposite ends of things too, like how they correlate so much with each other, you know, life and art and life. It's I don't know, the more I sit and like marinate on it, the deeper and deeper I end up going. I have to like stop myself so I don't like just sit in the same spot all day. You know what I mean? So and then to be able to sit in a car with two people that are interested in listening to it and sharing their own experiences and stuff like that with it too is pretty radical. And then just sit in a booth all weekend together and share those moments together as well is fucking great.
I know, we never got sick of each other. It was great.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was awesome. Yeah, but that's cool. Yeah. I guess what else is going on? What else would you think about packing? Like as far as the booth goes here, like what do you think about organization and stuff like that? Do you think that it'd be a good idea for everybody to hear how I think we talked about using Tupperware containers or like toolboxes that are good for traveling and such, you know what I mean? So you can kind of organize your station a little bit better. We talked
Yeah,
about that a little bit.
I did not pack well for this one.
Yeah.
I just like kind of threw everything together that I thought I needed, and then when I got there, I was like, "Oh shit! I didn't even think of bringing Sharpie markers. I need
Right.
those."
Yeah.
Checklist, guys.
Yeah, I
Yep.
think it's just making a giant list of things that you need and then just checking them off beforehand. But I know it's more overwhelming to have like 50 million things on your back when you're walking into that, room. So I think Jason made a good point that anything that you can buy there that's disposable, you don't need to bring, because that's just, more room that's being taken up.
Yeah.
And I liked the way that Jason packed his cartridges. Like he would pack a bunch of cartridges in one box and label it like, large mags, medium, small mags, small liners, large liners. And he had them all like organized in that way. But I also like the way you did it too, where you put them all in like little Ziploc bags instead of just bringing the whole box.
Right.
Like there's different ways of doing it, so it's really up to you and what you decide to bring. Because some people don't want to bring prints, some people do want to bring prints, some people don't want to bring stickers, some people do want to bring stickers, and that's just more materials or less materials than the next person next to you. So it all depends, but definitely Lauren's right. Definitely bring a checklist.
What I'm showing here is us what I'm screen sharing is something that I believe Matt Phillips had shown us a while back, but these Conator stands, it's like a briefcase. So if you look at your stand and ahead of time, if you bring that with you and it's just, an extra add-on, it unfolds to be something like this, or that's what it looks like. So it's a carrying case, but when you open it up, it looks like this.
Yes. So
that would be something, if you're looking to travel, a portable workstation is also something super. I mean, you look so much sharper than having a huge white table in the background. And if you think about it, one thing I want to mention is to not forget that you are probably only reserving 100 square feet at a time.
Yeah.
Or 200, so each 10 by 10, if you have a 4 by 6 table, you're going to utilize that space or you're going to use it to put your soda and your this and your this and your that. So if you come prepared with that Conator stand or like a portable workstation, and you can look at it ahead of time and be like, okay, I'm going to need this, this, and this. I'll get these disposables there. And you can visualize what you're going to have. That's also something that I would recommend, having your station ready to go. So you're not going to look ill prepared in any way or scattered.
Yeah, I'm looking them up right now, actually.
Yeah, they're very hard to come by. They're limited, usually limited production on those. But from what I've seen, they're freaking incredible. I've carried them. I've traveled with them more than one at a time. And I just waltzed through with my backpack and 2 Conator stands in my hands.
That's awesome. That's awesome, man. I can't wait. I'm gonna contact them as soon as possible, as soon as I get up here.
Yep. They fly easily. I would just recommend if you're going to fly with it. For me, I have a giant shrink wrap and I'll just shrink wrap it so the outsides don't get scratched.
Perfect.
That's a good one.
Good idea. That's a good idea, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the other thing that I try to do too, is like just pack everything in like some kind of package, because no matter what, no matter how well you cover your inks, no matter how well you secure them, something ends up getting out a little bit here and there, or something spills on it or something like that. You know what I mean? So it's always good to have that stuff actually wrapped.
Especially
wrap that up. Wrap it up, like they say. But I think Faith, I think you got to get going, right? Is that what's going on?
Yeah, I have to go meet my friend at the shop, so I gotta go. Sorry.
No, it's okay. It was an awesome time talking with you today. I'm so glad that I ended up deciding to jump on, regardless of the content that I had to contribute today. So this is awesome. Thank you so much for making it an experience.
I'll try and get Miranda here next week.
Yeah, that'd be fun. You know what? Real quick before we go, if you can try to document some of this process, maybe. You know what I mean? And maybe we can share it with everybody, or maybe we can just share it amongst ourselves and stuff like that. But it'd be cool to kind of like, see the collection of that moment, of those moments, and see what is involved with that. Okay.
right, cool. Thank
All
you.
right. Yeah. See you later. That was fun.
Yeah, we're actually right almost at an hour. So that kind of flew on by, I'll say.
Cool. I was wondering if it's okay if I share this little video real quick. I just
Mhm.
wanted to kind of wrap it up with everything. You know, I've been wanting to share some videos and stuff here and there for the past couple weeks that I've been on, but I've always been kind of apprehensive to do that. But let's just dive in the deep end, man. You know, I think this conversation was perfect for something like this. Is what I was wanting to say. Is like we have to find some things in ourselves and the community that we're a part of that we, no matter what, will do, no matter how tired we are, no matter how little sleep we've had, no matter how little we've had to eat, we're just ready to do it no matter what. You know what I mean? And how it invigorates us. And this guy, Joseph Campbell, is a guy that I've been part of and following him for a really long time. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of him, but he's like a spiritual kind of guru and intelligent philosopher from the 20th and 21st century. And he pretty much like influenced a lot of other people too, like George Lucas, Alan Watts. He's another intuitive speaker and philosopher, and like Jim Morrison from the Doors. So you can give and take with the Doors, because I used to love them, and then I used to not like them, and then I kind of like them again. You know what I mean? As far as the Doors go, the band. But check it out, and let me go ahead and share this real quick. It's about a 5-minute video. Do we have time for that?
Yep, we have time. Just I'll just say again one more time. When you share your screen, you will have to do an advanced share, I believe. Or no, when you do the screen share, just click that share sound button at the very bottom left.
So I see share screen right in the middle.
Yep, the share screen, and then you can do a basic share from your Google Chrome with share sound enabled.
Here we go. Good?
Yep.
All right.
Is it working on your end?
Yes, it is.
Okay, I don't
You guys
see
can hear it?
anything. No.
Okay, let's see here. I'm so sorry. Can you see my screen at all?
Mhm.
Your screen sharing is paused, it says. Okay. So
That's-
you see the screen, but you don't hear any volume. Is that what's going on?
We just see it like it's like tiny, like it's not expanded, and we don't see any pictures or anything like that. It's just a black
Oh, that's
screen.
weird. Let's see here. I went full screen with it. Well, yeah, I
That's
don't
probably
know.
because it probably won't let you screen share and play a video at the same time. It might pause your screen share at the same time.
All right, so maybe we'll just try again next week then. How about that?
Oh, there it is. You kind of go.
Oh,
of the
you can see it
world,
now?
and they
Oh,
know
Lauren's
all
got it.
about it and have
Lauren's
known
got it.
about it for a long.
There we go.
There it is.
Thank you, Lauren. Dun, 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 dun. There's no volume.
It's okay. The subtitles I can read.
Yeah, there you go. I love this guy's stuff. Listening to him has been a huge inspiration for me.
Who is this?
Joseph Campbell.
Oh, cool, cool, cool.
Yeah, he wrote a couple books. Actually, more than a couple. He's written quite a few. Breaking down where our myths come from, like the stories and how they relate to our lives and us understanding the place in the world, in ourselves and amongst each other.
And that's what art is, pretty much.
I agree. Yeah. I wonder why there's no sound. Yeah, he's talking about some of the things that we distracting ourselves with at times. But the guy that was interviewing him brought up the fact about poets and what it's like to be able to focus on something that's non-physical based and how we lock ourselves into our minds.
Yeah, you definitely see that a lot, especially
Mhm.
nowadays. Everything that's going on, everybody concerns themselves with, like you said, the economical standards of things rather than your own consciousness.
Mhm. Yeah, something about teaching.
Geez, that's a long time to teach.
Yeah. Mhm.
Oh, that's a great, that's a great
Yeah.
statement right there.
Mhm. And there's that childlike mentality too. This is one of the best parts that I love about this eternal life. Uh, and Joseph breaks it down into these individual moments that we have that we don't take into consideration as those being a possibility of eternity and enjoying it. I get so excited about that answer.
It kind of reminds me of Mr. Rogers. I don't know why.
Yeah. There you go.
You know when this interview was filmed? Like what year?
I think it was in the 80s. I think this was one of his last interviews, actually.
Yeah, it's
Um,
so
I-
crazy to have like people like Alan Watts and you know like this person be so aware of themselves and their consciousness even back then. So it's
Mhm.
just it's so mind-boggling to me, really. Like
Well,
when
I
you hear
think
Alan
that
Watts talk about stuff like that, and he was like in like the 50s and 60s and 70s. It's like, wow, that's
mhm.
still attainable now.
I think that's what he's been. That's what he talks about in some of his other interviews. Is that this has been around for a long time, and we just tap into it. And he even mentioned it in this interview too. Is like we tap into this moment. We tap into this consciousness that's been around way before we have. You know. So,
Yeah, that's awesome. That was
yeah,
enlightening. What a way to start the day.
that's what I'm talking about. Thank you for sharing that, Lauren. I wasn't sure. Did you have sound whenever you're listening to it?
Yeah, it was interesting hearing both sounds at once, or both
Okay, cool.
conversations.
Okay, awesome. That's great. I'm glad it worked out. I hope that it came across as far as our viewers go and stuff like that. Whenever you play this back, that'd be great. If you guys get a chance, check them out. I spend a lot of time on some of his conversations. Those I think that interview is I think 8 hour long conversations, and he was talking about one of his most recent books at the time, The Power of Myth, I think is what it's called. But give him a chance, give him a go, listen to him. I find myself applying a lot of what he says to my own perspective and the way I view art and life and such. So I know Kier this week on Thursday night, she's going to be going over some composition rules and like not necessarily rules, but perspective on composition. And it's been really enlightening and awesome to hear her sharing her ideas with me recently, especially after this last weekend together. And so I was pretty excited about that whenever she started talking about some of the things that I've been going over with her for a little while now too. So you guys make sure and tune in because there's going to be a lot of really resourceful and influential information that she's going to be talking about. And I enjoy it
Yeah,
immensely.
it was like the exact same thing that guy was talking about. It was just like as soon as I figured it out, I was like, wait a minute.
Mhm.
And then all of the other pieces came together, and I was like, oh, I get it. This is awesome.
Incredible.
I had something
Incredible.
like that too. I was listening to more inspirational stuff during COVID in particular. I listened to a book by Napoleon Hill, and he spoke of the thing I mentioned earlier of your mastermind alliance and realizing you need to be in complete synchronity with the people that you work towards your bliss with. And it doesn't always have to be yourself. And I looked around and I realized that, you know what, maybe I'm not in that. So I let everything crumble, so to speak, just to build something bigger and better, not trying to be big, but just something better, something that does tap into that bliss, and you know it, you feel it, and it's like a incredible feeling.
It is. It is. That's awesome, Lauren.
But yeah,
Thanks for sharing that.
it really was. I actually had probably a dozen aha moments, a eureka, where it felt like a jolt through my body of thought. And, thoughts are things. It's incredible. And then not only that, when you're synchronized with yourself and others that are in your inner circle, you do great, great big things. And it's attracting other like-minded people, even that, defy the laws of physics. It's pretty cool.
Yes. Yeah, defying the laws of physics. There's another guy that I'd like to introduce at some point in time too. He's literally sitting out in freezing weather and denying all like physical ideas, possibilities of what should happen to our bodies at those moments, being under frozen water for like, extended amounts of time where it's supposedly impossible for that to happen. But he's accomplished it, and he's teaching people how to do it. And it's exactly what you're talking about, Lauren, which is that conception, that realization that we are our thoughts. So we are our perspective. We are the way that we look at the world, and the world is created through that thought, through that intention. You know what I mean? So like, it's so awesome. And us as artists, like, that's our responsibility, to be able to like conceive that and wrap our heads around it, and like be able to share that with other people through our art, through the way we speak, through the way that we like interact with each other, and just, like, you're carrying on.
Yeah, when you're doing something you love, there's something about you that it polarizes you or something. And and not only for yourself but others around you. It makes it's in the book that I read, there's that it factor, and you tap into that it factor by doing stuff like this with people that you love, and you'll start to notice incredible changes in your own life.
Yeah, it's awesome. We manifest our own truth. And our truth is what we live by, and our truth becomes our reality, and we stumble quite a bit to get there, but thank goodness for those moments of stumbling, those moments of failure, quote unquote failure, you know what I mean? Because without those, we don't have any kindle to start the fire, so we have to have those moments, and we have to be able to, like, I don't know what word that we can use outside of this right now off the top of my head, but forgive ourselves, so to speak, for those moments that we might just beat ourselves up over, and like, that inward reflection, that inward conversation, that the inward dialogue that we have with ourselves has to change for sure. And like, speaking them out loud on this forum, you know what I mean? And speaking them out loud with you guys, like, I feel like this connection is it's over the internet right now. I feel like it's super strong right now, and I dig it. You know what I mean? So we create that for ourselves for sure.
It's not so hard to understand that our, composite and metal and aluminum little devices can communicate with one another, but yet it's harder for the general population to understand that our brains are doing the same exact thing without the constraints of space and time. So giving yourself a little more confidence that, you really can be together with one another. Don't get so down on yourself. Learn to love the failures, because without that failure, you're probably not going to get any better, Yep.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
That's a great thing to mention. And like, I always preach about this book that I read in the beginning of my career. It's The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield. And he mentions that he had this movie that came out, and he thought it was going to be like the greatest movie of all time. He thought it was going to be the greatest thing. He's like, oh, everybody's going to be there. It's going to be amazing. And long story short, it was an absolute bust. Like, nobody liked it. The reviews of it were horrible. Like, he was just absolutely distraught. And he went to one of his senior coworkers and was just like, I don't know what's happening right now. Like, what is this? And he's like, this is not, you are a professional still, because you had your first real failure. And as a professional, you have to understand that your first failures or your failures that happen in your career are just lessons. That's it. They're not truly failures. That's just your own perspective perceiving it as that way. So that movie was still a success because of the lesson that was learned, pretty much.
Yeah. Yep. And
So
that's the coolest part, like what you just said, Kier, is that like we learn that our failures aren't failures, that they're actually successes, right? They're just wrapped in a different package and delivered to us by the universe in a different way. You know what I mean? And like our societal standards teach us that when we fail, we don't succeed. You know what I mean? Like unfortunately, I think in schools we're so taught that like F means so bad. You know what I mean? And
yeah,
we never
exactly.
really, it's so hard to recover from that point and such. But like, how awesome would it be if we could actually teach each other that, you know, that's a good opportunity. And like all these moments that we miss and we think we're waiting for this big thing to just unfold in front of us, we have to take the step to make it happen. And we have to realize that that's a moment, that's an
Yeah.
opportunity. Every time something comes up like that, it is your opportunity. You know what I mean? Every time you face that tattoo artist at the convention that you really want to talk to, but for some reason you don't allow yourself to do it, just push yourself to do it. It's the worst that's
Yeah.
gonna happen.
Yeah,
What's the worst that's gonna happen, you know?
and the great Alan Watts always said that the fool who persists in his follies will become wise. So as long as you persist in your failures, you will become as wise as you'd like.
You got it, kid.
It would be insane to continue doing the same thing, expecting different results.
There you
Absolutely.
go. This is so rad, man. I love this. I could just do this all day. Just do this all day. Very great. Man, I
This is
can't
a
wait to
good
travel
start
with
to
all
the
you
day.
guys.
It really is.
Yeah,
It
this
is.
yeah, I love it. You know, I'm so happy that I'm doing this. I'm so happy that I decided to go ahead and pull the trigger, as far so to speak, on coming on the online and talking about this stuff and opening up. Thank you guys so much for giving me that opportunity to do so.
Absolutely. And I'm glad that you can express yourself in this manner, speaking in this way, and find people that are on the same, frequency, as far as like, yeah, man, we know too.
Yeah, yeah, we're learning too. Yeah.
Yeah, we got it.
It's totally not a sin for someone that you are synchronized with or really comfortable with to learn from their mistakes just as well.
Absolutely. And that's, I guess that's the whole part of like mentorship and apprenticeship is like I'm going to tell you not to do things so that you don't go through the same failures I went through. But that doesn't mean that you're still not going to fail.
Yeah.
You're still definitely going to fail. It's just going to be your failures that you're now going to teach the next generation. And then it just so on and so forth. And it continues on through life.
Yeah.
Evolution.
Reincarnation, evolution, lineage. Yeah, man, it's all there. And then like the best part is explaining yourself in that manner and then watching them stumble still, you know what I mean? And then learning more through that process as well, so that's killer here.
It's an interesting thing to think about when you come to the realization that you probably always will be working with other people, unless you own your own studio and it's private, but everybody is going through these things simultaneously. So, when you go to your shop today and maybe you don't get along with the artist working next to you, or there's, problems, and it happens all over the country, all over the world, every single day, but realize that there's these inner struggles that everybody is going through. And if you open yourself up a little bit, you could actually, save yourself some face and go through those obstacles together and learn from it just as well.
That's
Yeah,
perfect,
absolutely.
Lauren.
Look at you, Lauren.
Yeah,
Oh.
that's perfect.
It's Tuesday.
This on Tuesday morning at the Reinventing the Tattoo Crew, right?
Yeah. Before we disconnect, we do have our a management meeting coming up soon. Not that soon, but I'm curious to what is your guys' next move besides the convention from last weekend? Will you guys be traveling again together or anytime soon?
Yeah,
Florida.
here, go.
Oh, Florida, that's
Go ahead.
right.
Yep.
When are you guys
Let me plug
gonna
my
go
computer.
there?
I'm going the 25th, and I don't know if Ricardo's going that day too. I believe so.
Yes.
Of July?
In a couple weeks we'll be going. But that's for like to go see Bruno for the first time, and
Yeah.
this, all the horsemen minus Larry to meet together and actually hang out and paint.
Would you be surprised to know I met Bruno 8 years ago?
Oh, really?
And Marlo,
Nice.
yep. He was one of the first people I'd met at the I forget what convention it was. I think it might have been 2014 New York Empire State Tattoo Expo, maybe, or something like that. But like his hospitality has never changed.
Sweetest soul on the planet.
personality. Gosh, I mean, it just, and his brother Marlo, if you get to meet him, he's just funny. I mean, I haven't talked to them in a long time, personally or in person, but that crew is so freaking cool. They've,
Absolutely. And that's why, I mean, that's one thing and why I love the crew that we've been building is whenever I ask for help, everybody responds in different ways. And the way that Bruno responds is like trying to be like the sweetest, but most like confronting. Cause I'll be like, Bruno, I don't understand why this is happening. He's like, well, why didn't you do this? Well, I don't know. And then he'll just pause and just like, well, I mean, I don't know. He's trying to be so nice and considerate. He's very sweet.
He will be doing his art jam tonight, which I'm really excited for. I will be attempting to introduce in Spanish, but he does have one of the raw artists that I really look up to from Chile. His name is, his Instagram handle is @_Brahawks. You guys got to check him out. Killer illustrative designs, and he incorporates all this crazy space in his mind to skin or to digital realms. It's really awesome. So that will be tonight at 9 p.m. Definitely encourage you to listen. We may have English subtitles going simultaneous, but if you can't watch it live, you can always catch those English subtitles after the show.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah. Well, that was awesome, guys. I gotta get ready for my next appointment. I've been drawing that for the past couple of days. That's part of the reason that I stayed up so long. That and editing some videos and stuff like that for WT. So we're gonna get back on track.
All right.
All right.
Thank you, Lauren.
Yeah, so I will go ahead and disconnect everybody. Thank you for watching. There are people that have been watching and tuning in. I hope you took something from today with you. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Bye, guys.